Sun's out, but the knees still gotta stay covered. Have you guys ever been shopping and found the perfect pair of jeans, but then you discovered that it's ripped denim? So then you gotta sit there and try to think of ways to how to like cover it up. Do you wear like leggings underneath it, and you gotta sit there and just be uncomfortable the whole entire time? Well, you guys don't have to worry about that anymore. Step into my studio and I'm going to show you guys how to perfectly seamlessly patch your ripped denim or any ripped item of yours seamlessly. Major shout out to my Aunt Hosun who taught me this trick. I'm definitely so thankful to be coming from a family of designers and sewers that teach me this life hack, and now I'm going to teach you guys. So first things first, you're going to make sure that you get a mesh fabric that is stretchy enough. This you'll definitely need because when you bend your knees, you don't want it to like constrain you. And the tools that you'll need is simply scissors, a tape measure, or a ruler. Alright, so first you gotta see what you're working with. You gotta take that denim and you gotta flip it inside and out, and you have to see the construction in order to figure out how exactly you're going to sew it. First, I'm going to sew the black denim. Now this one's really easy because on either side of the denim, there's like the side seam of like the raw edge from where they serged it. Now that is going to be your little secret to make it seamless. You're going to take the mesh and you're going to sew it along that line, and no one's going to see where you sewed it, and it's going to be seamless and flawless, and you got this covered. Like, this is the easiest one. So first you got to measure it from one side of the seam to the other. It's about 5.5 for me, but I'm going to cut my mesh fabric 1/2 inch wider just in case. You got to play it safe. So after that, I like to give myself a lot of room because your knees bend, so you got to make sure you kind of do it about 5 inches long. So it's going to be 6 inches wide and about 5 inches long. So whatever you measure your denim at, just do it about 1/2 inch wider. But in terms of the length, 5 inches is good because when you bend your knees, you don't want the fabric to like stick out. When I measure with the grain of the fabric because it's already in a straight line. So I put that grain of the fabric in the corner, and then I mark it with a highlighter. I have a white table so I'm able to see my marker, and again, I'm doing this very freehandedly. If you feel like you're nervous about this, you guys can take white chalk and draw a straight line with a ruler. Also, I already like effed it up, so you're gonna have to actually double the fabric. I haven't patched my denim in a long time, so right now I did it single, but you're gonna want to do 2 mesh fabric on top of each other because it's gonna be too transparent if it's just one layer. So you're not gonna see it now, but I'm gonna sew 2 layers onto my denim. So after you cut out one patch, you can actually just layer it on top of the fabric again, and then you can cut your second patch. Again, I know it's not perfect, but hey, I'm not doing production here. I'm just sewing my ripped denim jeans, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Alright guys, so now you guys take your mesh patch and you guys are going to sew it along the inseam. So I'm just lining it up just to make sure that everything is matching up. You're going to sew it into a straight line. If you're a little bit nervous about sewing, don't worry, just use the already serged hem as a guideline to, sew into a straight line. So I'm going to use my serger machine just because like it's pretty quick, but however, if you guys have a sewing machine, you guys can definitely do it on a sewing machine. If you guys have neither machine, don't worry, you guys can still sew this with your own hands. It just takes a lot of patience. Just make sure you kind of like sew it in a straight line. So when you're sewing the other side, you want to make sure that you don't stretch the mesh fabric too much. You want to leave a little bit of room because when you bend your knees, you don't want it to fully like constrain you. And if you're left over with fabric, after you guys sew it, you guys can cut it. My serger machine is already cutting as I'm sewing, so there's no need for me to do that. So I flip my denim inside and out, and just look how flawless it is. You guys got patched denim, and look, you guys don't even see where I sewed it because you sewed it in the secret spot. By the way, just for clarification, I don't know if sewed is a proper term or if I'm grammatically using that correctly. So when I say I sewed it, I don't know. I have no idea if I'm even using proper English, but yeah. Guys, so if you guys have flipped your denim inside out and you notice that one side has that inseam flap I was talking about, but then the other side doesn't, don't worry, you guys can still fix this problem. You're gonna do the same thing like I said about the measurements, but this time I actually folded the fabric in half. I remembered. So you're gonna cut it according to how I mentioned in the beginning. Just use half an inch at least a little bit wider. And if you guys can't find a mesh fabric at your local fabric store or anywhere else, just try to use another fabric that has a lot of spandex in it because you do want that stretch. Alright, so for this one, you're going to want to make sure that you're actually sewing on top of that tight groove, and so you're sewing into a straight line. I think it's called a groove, guys. I don't know. You're going to want to make sure that your lines are straight, because if they're not, you're literally going to sew your jeans together, and you want to avoid that. If you're not comfortable with using a sewing machine, then you guys can definitely hand stitch this with just a very light hand. Again, when you're sewing, you want to make sure that you're not pulling the fabric. If you're pulling the fabric, then once again, you're going to make that mesh tighter, but you want it loose and stretchy like this. That's it. It was simple, right? You guys can now go on a shopping spree. You no longer have to worry about your ripped denim, and you guys can patch them up seamlessly. Thanks so much for watching. Till next time.